Hi everyone, it's Kat. Thanks so much for joining me for another video today. Today I'm working on my very first holiday card for this year, and I'm using a stamp set by Virginia Turtle called Holiday Penguins. And what I'm going to do first is stamp out these little penguins on some Copic quality cardstock so that I can just do some very quick coloring with my Copic markers. And I've got two little penguins, and then I'm going to stamp the little fish 3 times. And then I'm just going to color those really fast. And I'm not going to do any like fancy shading or anything. I'm really just doing the basics. It's been a while since I've made any cards, and I'm just trying to get back into the swing of things. So I'm going to go ahead and let you watch me color and fast forward, and I will be right back. Okay, so I finished coloring my little images, and now I'm going to use my Brother Scan and Cut to cut them out. And as you can see, it cut them out perfectly. And I really am enjoying having the Scan and Cut. It's the new one that I have. I think it's called Scan and Cut 2. And it's just fabulous. I don't have to use dies anymore. So I'm going to peel those off my mat. And then I'm just going to go around the edges of the die cuts with a black Copic brush marker just to cover up the white paper from the die cut. It just gives it a more finished look, and it's really simple to do. So now I've got some little mini glue dots. I think they're called bling glue dots. They're really tiny. They're like micro sized. And I'm going to use those to put some googly eyes on my penguins, which you can't see right now because it's off screen a little bit. And I'm sorry about that. But I've got my little googly eyes on, and it makes them really cute. And you'll see those in just a minute when I move the little penguins down. And I've got my Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen, and I just went over the ice with that. And then I used a black marker to add the black to the eyes of the little fish. So now I've got a paper pad from DCWV, and it's called, I think it's called Pastel Glitzy or Glitzy Pastel. And I've got a piece of glitter paper that I'm going to use for my background. And I need a card base, so I'm using Gina K Pure Luxury 120 pound cardstock. And I just cut a piece of that in half, and I'm scoring it at 5.5. So it's going to be a top folding card. And I'm just using my bone folder, which I love, just to score it. And then I'm going to use my Vagabond to die cut the background. This is the Lawn Fawn Snowy Backdrop die. And I had to use my precision plate because it's a really intricate die. But it works perfect when you use that. So I'm just going to pull it off, and as you can see, it die cut it perfectly. And then the white card base shows up through the little holes, and it looks really cute. So now I've got my Lawn Fawn large stitched rectangle die, and I wanted to add the stitching detail around that die cut. So I'm going to go ahead and use my regular sandwich in the Vagabond and just go around that die cut with the stitched rectangle, and it's the perfect size, so it just adds the stitching detail. And now I've got another piece of just Neenah Solar White 80 pound cardstock, and I'm just going to cut a panel with the stitching detail again. I'm going to use my Lawn Fawn Stitched Hillside Borders dies, and I'm going to cut some little snowy hills. But I wanted those to have the stitching detail around the outside, so that's why I went over it with the stitched rectangle die first. So I'm just going to lay those out, and then I'm going to cut out my little hills. and that will help me to set up the background for my card. So I've got those pieces now, and I'm going to line them up and just see how I want to place them on the card. But then I realized one of them I cut backwards, so I'm going to run it through again, and then I'll lay it out on my card. And this is how I store my dies. I use the vent covers from Lowe's, and I just attach them to cardstock. It's really an easy way to store them. So now I'm going to go ahead and figure out how I want to place those little die cuts on my card base. And I think that's how I want them, right there. And I noticed there was just a little bit of cardstock left over on the outside from the original die cut, so I just cut that off with my scissors just to clean it up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and use my ATG and glue down the background, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my ATG again just to glue the little snowy hills on there. I had thought about using foam tape, but because I'm going to be mailing most of my Christmas cards, I'm going to try to keep them as flat as possible this year because I spent a lot of money on postage last year. So I'm going to pull out my little penguins, and now you can see the little googly eyes, and I'm going to set up my scene. And I thought that I was going to need foam tape at the top of the little penguin's head, but then I realized when I go to place it down that I don't, so I'm going to peel that off. But right now I'm using some Tombow Extreme adhesive, and the reason I'm using this adhesive is because it's a lot stronger than regular adhesive, and it will stick to that glitter paper better. Sometimes it's really hard to get adhesive to stick to the glitter paper, but the Tombow Extreme adhesive is really, really sticky, so it sticks with no problem. So that's how I'm going to lay out my little penguins, and now I'm going to work on gluing down my little fish. And I kind of wish that my fish was backwards because they're all three facing the same way, but I guess it's okay. It just bugged me a little bit when the card was finished. So I just kind of placed them in different, like different areas of the card. Makes the penguins look happy. And now I'm going to work on my sentiment. So I'm using an older stamp set from not CC Designs. It's Amy R. Stamps, and I think it's called, I can't remember, but it will be in the description box in the supply list. So I use my corner chomper just to go around the sentiment, and I glued that on my page, and I just felt like it wasn't finished. So now I've got the Lawn Fawn Mini Snowflakes die, and that's a new die this year. And I cut out some snowflakes out of a piece of white scrap paper, and I'm going over it with my Wink of Stella clear glitter brush marker, and I'm just going to use some of those smaller snowflakes to place around on my card. And you'll see me do that now. And I'm going to use some of the Ranger Multi Medium in the matte finish. And someone, Kathleen from the Stamping Enablers group, sent me some of these little I think they're eyelash glue brushes or something, and they're perfect for adding glue onto the back of die cuts, especially this multi-medium when you buy the big jar. So thank you, Kathleen. And I'm using those to add glue to the little snowflakes. And there's a couple up top that you can't see right now, but you'll see those in just a few minutes. And then I'm just adding another layer of the Wink of Stella glitter. And that's my card. So thanks for watching, guys. I will be back with more holiday cards this year. I'm just getting back into the swing of things after my surgery, and I'm really happy to be back. So thanks a lot. I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.